sé que me extrañas cada día. Si perdió el amor, lo siento, fue mala mía. Si fuera un cuento de fantasía, te llevaría a un paraíso y te besaría. Pero look at me, what in darkness.
Hello and welcome to yet again to another episode here at the Cardboard Cave podcast. Remember that you can follow us in all of our social media as Cardboard Cave Podcast, and as well, you can listen to us in your favorite podcast audio format. So we are available in Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So check us out. If you can't watch us, you can listen to us. So check us out in your favorite audio platform. As well, I do want to mention all of our sponsors. We have one that we truly love is Titan Games. So if you're from Puerto Rico, you can go to the #1 local game store here in our 100 by 35. So there's 2 locations, one in Rio Piedras and one in Caguas. We have all of their information in the description and as well the Google Map links like that you guys can simply just click on the store that you want to visit and it will take you to that local game store. And no worries, because if you're from the States, we do have everything covered for you. You can go to titanhobbygames.com. There you guys can check out their website and check out all of their merchandise as well online, and they do ship to the States. So just check out Titan Games in all of your favorite social media and much more. Hey, as well, do you want to spice up your commander or decks? Hey, it's very simple and very easy. Go to ultrasleeves.com/cardboardcave or use our affiliated code Cardboardcave to get 10% off your order. So if you just want to make sure that your deck is fine-tuned to your style of play or your way of being, Ultra Sleeves is the #1 spot to check them out. Hey, I do want to let you know something. I know that sometimes we're on a budget in Commander, and sometimes we want to play test some of the cards that probably we can't buy because, again, budget. No worries. Tolarianlibrary.com has you covered with premium playtest cards, and they are top notch. You can get your favorite cards and as well, let it be non-foil or foil form. And it's only easy. The great thing about Tolarianlibrary.com is that you can use our code CBCMTG and you're going to get 20% off your order. They are located in New York, so they do ship everywhere. Ourselves and the team have some of their products and we actually love their products. And in the future episodes, we will be testing them out so that you guys can check their products and as well check their website. Just go to Tolarianlibrary.com so that you guys can check out all of their premium playtest cards. Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the Tarkir Dragonstorm previews and as well the previews of Spider-Man, because Wizard of the Coast doesn't give us a chance. We already had previews for Final Fantasy that we spoke about them in our previous podcast episode, and today we're going to be talking about the 2 upcoming sets. And as well, if you guys check out our upcoming episode that will be of Ale and Fabiola talking about MagicCon Chicago, they do mention the final set that was not previewed but at least announced in Chicago, the Avatar: The Last Airbender set. So let's go ahead and bring in our favorite director like that. We can go ahead and talk about sweet cardboard and much more.
Yo,
how are you doing, Ale?
All good. Let's talk about delicious dragony cardboard.
Are you excited of Tarkir Dragonstorm?
No.
Nope.
The thing is, I used to have the Ur Dragon, Scion of the Ur Dragon. I used to have that deck. So I had it. It was great. It was amazing, but it was a one-trick pony. As you know, you play Scion, you pay, I think it's 4 mana, you dump the one that has Infect, and you like one-shot. Yeah, you do Satrix, you trigger it twice, so you put it with something that has like double strike or whatever, and you basically one-shot an opponent. And then you'll try to find a way to do like double strike to another opponent, and then you try to figure out how to kill the third opponent. It was always the same gameplay style. So I like sold the whole deck. Like 3 months later, they announced the Ur Dragon. I got so pissed off. I was like, screw it, I'm never doing dragons for this. And I love dragons. Like, I come from Yu-Gi-Oh! I love the blue eyes white dragons. So I love dragons all the time. But dragons are so expensive as a tribe, man. Like, it's crazy.
You know what? You mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh! So we would have been arch enemies because I'm a Dark Magician fan.
Oh,
So-
gross. That's not the most powerful creature. Fail.
Nah, I was the type. I was the type of player. I remember that when they did the Village of the Spellcasters,
Yeah.
there was like this weird combo that you can lock the game with Sorcerer of
yeah.
Dark Magic,
Yeah.
and your opponent could not do anything. Obviously,
Yeah.
that was back in the day, guys, when you could actually play Yu-Gi-Oh, not one turn trick ponies nor none of that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But to be honest, my first commander was actually Scion the Ur Dragon. So I understand where you're coming from. So
It's an expensive deck.
it was
was,
back in the day. I think that the only dragon I did not have was Skidrix, because every time that I would see somebody having Skidrix in their binder, they were like, "No, I don't trade it. I don't sell it." I'm like, that's the only dragon that I'm missing, man. So I had to find other ways to beat my opponents. But at least for me, I love dragons. I actually, when I saw this set coming back, I was super excited because I love Khans of Tarkir and Dragons of Tarkir were one of like my favorite sets. And those were the sets that literally when I was going into Magic. So it was not Omked. I got into Omked like later on when I was like going crazy and I was like, I think I want to play Pro Magic.
Yeah.
And, then things happen. So let's go ahead. So in MagicCon Chicago, they presented some of the cards. And obviously, like always, a couple of days later from Chicago, somebody took a picture of one of the cards as well, and they posted it. I think that they did made like a official announcement, but I don't remember which card was it.
It was Narset. It was
Narset,
like
right?
I think so. Yeah. I remember that what happened was, so if you have like the premium bash, like the Black Lotus VIP, you have a special event on Thursday. For like content creators and people who have the badge. And that's when they spoiled, I think it was Narset, that in our TikTok page, as soon as I saw it on Twitter, I posted it. And then when I went to the preview panel, I spoiled all the cards that were showcased that day. So yeah.
Yes. So let's go ahead and see the preview cards. We're going to cover them all. There are not that many yet.
Not yet.
I think preview season is next week.
I believe you, because that's what happens now. Like, it's always preview time.
It's always preview time. Yeah. And the thing is, guys, something that we did mention at the start of the year on our first podcast is that this year, all the sets are coming out so close to each other that if you notice that our show is going to be previews only, we're so sorry ahead of time because it's not our fault.
Yeah, like that's what WotC's giving us. Like literally, they spoiled Final Fantasy before they spoiled Dragon Sword Tarkir. If Final Fantasy is coming in the summer, they spoiled Spider-Man like a week after the Tarkirs thing, and that's coming in like what, September? October?
Yeah, September.
Yeah, it's crazy. They still haven't spoiled anything. So
the thing is that we're going to talk about that later, like that we can cover all the cards quick. But the thing is that Aether Drift is not even, it hasn't not even been a month of Aether Drift and nobody's talking about it no more.
Yep. Nobody's talking about it and they moved on. That's it.
Exactly. So it's, oh my God, it's just crazy. So let's go ahead and jump into to Tarkir Dragonstorm. One of the first cards, and I say that I want to talk about this card because I know a lot of people did not like it. But for me, in terms of like giving me a leeway to build dragons again, I'm so in. So it's Mox Jasper. It's a 0-costed legendary artifact that says add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control a dragon. Yes, it is Mox Amber, but for dragons.
Yes. And
even though it's okay. Yeah, you're gonna be probably in the comments saying to us like, or to me, but Mox Jasper is just a mana rock that we don't need. But at least for people that are fans of dragons, and I just love all of the artwork. The artworks are
it's beautiful. Moxen will always look amazing. So
Yes,
yeah.
and I'm so into it, especially this one. I think that this is the showcase, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that would be the showcase. Yes.
This would be the showcase. I love it. I do love the retro, but I know that the retro is serialized, so that means that collector boosters only. But the showcase, I love it. It brings so much. For me, it brings so much lore because I can think of like Game of Thrones and whatnot. Probably you might get a secret layer of Game of Thrones thanks to this one. Who knows?
Yep.
So, Ale, go ahead and get to our first dragon.
Well, I will talk about Mox Jasper for a second. So in the preview panel, they mentioned that, sets always need like a big draw, and they are very purposely giving you this card as their big draw. So this will probably be like the bomb of the set, or the card that people are going to be chasing after. They're designing it in a way where people like you are fans of dragons and they want to acquire this card. Also remember, this says only if you control a dragon. Shapeshifters are dragons. Changelings are dragons. So you can use a changeling, and if it's a 1-mana changeling, oh, look at that, you have a Moxen. So you have like a Rico deck that has a couple of changelings. So consider that. That could be a cool card. Let me start with the first one then. Toval, the Balance Scale. It's a colorless black, green, and blue for a 4/4 legendary creature, Spirit Dragon. Most of these are going to be dragons. It has flying, as most dragons do. Whenever Toval attacks, mill 3 cards. Then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. It's for meal strategies. It's in its colors. This makes sense for this type of like synergy. It's milling. It's giving you lands. It needs to attack, which makes it a slightly weaker dragon, even though it's 4 mana, so it'll come down pretty quick and it'll be able to attack in turn 5. But yeah, there's some interesting value in it. I don't know in terms of like commander how powerful this can be, or how useful it would be, or if you would use it as a commander. It's sort of a builder.
I already know what you can use with this. You can use Field of the Dead.
Exactly. So you can use stuff for like Field of the Dead. You can kind of like boost it in that capacity. I just don't know like if it's going to make a very powerful, it'll make an interesting commander deck. I don't know if it's a powerful one. For standard, it's 3 colors. It's a little difficult to pull off, unless it'd be crazy if they print the fetches, but I don't think they're going to do that. They might do something. I feel like they're going to reference the fetches. They're going to do something akin to a fetch, but it's not going to be a fetch. That'll be my guess, because Tarkir is known for bringing the fetches back and then ultimately realizing it was a horrible mistake. So they might do something similar to a fetch, or there might be a cycle of lands here that
Fetches
are useful
in standard. Yes,
something. I don't know. I don't know what they'll pull off, but clearly you're going to need something, because a lot of these cards are three colors, 3 different colors, so they're hard to cast. They're going to have to make it viable. And the Mox Jasper is not going to be the thing that's going to help you be able to castle these things. So, yeah.
Correct. So, next one is Shiko, Paragon of the Way, is 2 blue, red, white legendary creature Spirit Dragon with flying vigilance. It's a 4/5 and says the following. When Shiko enters, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, and then you may cast the copy without playing its mana cost. So basically, you just exile something, and you can play it without. You can cast the copy without playing its mana cost.
Yep, it's cool.
It's cool.
It's Jeskai, meaning you can blink, so you can cast it. You cast a blink effect. You do it again. If you have Panharmonic on, you get double triggers. Ooh. So that's where you start going a little bit crazy with that. Since it's Jeskai, you can just play a lot of cantrips, a lot of cheap spells, so you can be able to recur and recast and do stuff with it. So if this one has something there. So you can
destroy your Izikron Scepter, you can go ahead and have cast a copy.
Sure, yeah, you can do a bunch of stuff with it. So I think there's yeah, you can do a bunch of stuff because it says no land card, so it can be a permanent, exactly. So it doesn't have to be an instant or sorcery. So it's anything 3 or less. I think this one has the capacity to make a cool commander deck with it. For standard, I don't know. It could be like a good final card to cast, like when you're doing a very control heavy build, which obviously the colors are very in tune with control builds, like a bunch of planeswalkers, and then if they print cheap planeswalkers that cost 3 mana or less, which is kind of hard to do, but maybe it's a possibility, you can recast them. Or this is like a bomb. It's like a little bomb you can have in a control build. But yeah.
Correct.
There's the Narset. As a Narset. So Narset Jeskai Waymaster, that's the one that was spoiled on Thursday at the Magic Con. It's a blue, a red, and a white as a 3/4, a legendary creature human monk. She's not a planeswalker anymore. She's desparked. At the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equal to the number of spells you cast this turn. So it incentivizes you to storm off, to do a spell slinger type strategy, and be able to draw a bunch of cards at the end of turn. So cantrips, cheap 0-costed 1-costed spells, dump your hand, discard nothing, and draw that many cards and be filled up for the next turn, and keep it going, keep it pushing. So it's cool. As 3 mana for a 3/4 sounds a little bit pushed, and at the end phase you'll discard your hand, and at the lowest value, you'll get 1 card back because you casted a spell, which is Narset herself. So you'll be able to draw 1 card at the end phase. So it's kind of cool.
Yep, completely agree. And now one of the cards that I'm super hyped about, because when the original one came out, I always wanted to play that card, but due to that it was like the meta deck in those times, it was very expensive. So we have now Skirmish Rhino. It's so interesting because both of the showcase are mythics, and then the original one, it's an uncommon. So Skirmish Rhino is white, black, green creature Rhino, trample. When this creature enters, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life, and it's a 3/4. So I'm so into it. I think that this is Sultai, if I'm not mistaken.
This is Absan,
my bad. So Absan I think is going to be pretty strong once again. And is going to probably be meta once again. So I'm super excited for Skirmish Rhino. Super excited.
Really good. Then next we have the Absent Dragon. So they spoiled some of the dragons, some of the their planeswalkers. We'll get to Despark Planeswalker too, but they didn't spoil all the tribes. They spoiled, I think, 4 of them. So this will be the Absent Dragon. So we have Bitor, Ancestor's Voice. He is a 2 colorless, white, black, and a green for a 3/5. He has Flying Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, put a number of 1/1 counters on up to 1 other target creature you control equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. Return up to 1 target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you lost this turn from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this deck incentivizes you to do what? Gain and lose life. It has the right colors to do a type of aristocrats build. So you can be losing life, gaining life, making the opponent lose life, and try to gain value because of this. And since it's black, you can take life away. You can lose life by casting very powerful tutors or draw spells in order to be able to reanimate stuff. So it's cool. And it's sadly on your turn. That's the only bad thing. But you just try to go off in your turn. It's cool. I think this one is one of the commander ones, if I'm not mistaken, because of the set symbol.
You can tell
the set symbol. Exactly, because the other ones exactly. So that's how you know those are the commander centric ones. But it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now this one, if you guys played Cons of Tarkir on that set, this card is literally Crackling Doom with 1 additional mana. So its inevitable defeat is 1 and Mardu. So is red, white, black. Instant, because Crackling Doom as well was an instant. There's no difference literally, except in one part. But this card can't be countered. The difference is that Crackling Doom was that your opponent has to sacrifice a creature, and in this one, you exile target non-land permanent. Its controller loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So I really do like this card. This is going to be a great removal for standard. This is going to be great removal for standard. Because you're not only exiling a non-land permanent, you're as well taking 3 life and you're gaining 3 life as well. So
it's a tempo play. It's a tempo play. It all depends if you can play these 3 colors. If you have the capacity with ease to play these 3 colors, this is going to be really strong because you can't counter it. So they're going to remove your stuff. So, So next up is Baron Steep Siege, 2 colorless and a black and a white. For an enchantment that reads I can't read it. You gotta move it a little bit because I can't read it. There you go. Enchantment. As the enchantment enters, choose Absent or Mardu. If you're Absent at the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Or if you're Mardu, at the beginning of your end step, if you control if a creature died under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. So what they're doing now, as they explained in the preview panel, they like the idea of the enchantments that were either you were one faction or the other. So now they're doing the same thing with the tribes, and they're doing a callback to that, but kind of like putting it more centric to the tribes. And it's a cool way where you can kind of like play with your own tribe, but be able to kind of like dabble in the other tribe. And this one is excellent because you're either Absent or Mardu, and it contains the 2 colors that Absent and Mardu share. And then the other one will be a different one, either the red or the green or whatever, which is kind of interesting in terms of like the build around and stuff like that. So it incentivizes you to play around with the different factions, maybe mix the 2 factions together, but it has some interesting versatility to it.
No, I completely agree. I remember that back in Cons and Dragons of Tarkir, when these cards were out, one of the most popular one was Outpost Siege.
Yep.
You would play Outpost Siege and you could exile the top card of your library and you could play that turn. So you were ahead an additional card as well. So you would exile and then draw. So seeing this again is super fun. In that case, I don't remember how was it, but I know it was like you would choose like dragons and something else. And it was super fun. You know, it was an interesting game plan.
By the way, going with your Game of Thrones theory, look at that full art version of Baron Steep Siege.
Yeah, it's so Game of Thrones like.
Yeah, I know.
Cool. I think probably.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 25-75.
Sure,
25%. I would say yes. We might get a secret layer of Game of Thrones. 75 is a no.
Okay,
but seeing this, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones and a bunch of dragons. It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
So next card is a card that I'm really excited because I was like, when I saw this card, I was like, no effing way. So we have Stormscale Scion. It's a 6-drop. It's 4 colorless and 2 red creature dragon flying. It's a 4/4 and it's a lord. Other dragons you control get +1/+1. But this is where it gets spicy. It has Storm.
Yep.
It has Storm.
It's literally a dragon storm.
Exactly. It's literally a dragon storm. So technically speaking, being the fact that Foundations is already available, the fun fact is that if you do a mono red build, just saying, if you do a mono red build, or let's say that you only choose 2 colors, you can cast, let's say that you have 7 mana, you cast a shock to start, and then you cast this, you have 2 of them. This is crazy.
You cast 2 things, you have a bunch of them. If you cast a lot of Mox Jaspers and you keep like legend ruling them, and then you cast this at the end, you'll have 4 or 5 of them, and then that's game over. Like you can't count from that. It's crazy. It's very interesting. At 6 mana, I think you'll really have to build around it to be able to pull it off. In Commander, it's kind of cool. There's a lot of cost reducers in Commander. A lot of dragons have dragon spells you control cost 1 less to cast. There's a bunch of those in Commander, so you can ideally play a bunch of little small things and then end up with a storm scale sign, which I also love that it's called storm scale, literally referencing the storm scale and the power level and the power creep that we've had in Magic. So it's cool. It's a cool card. People freaked out when they saw Storm on this. So the next one, it is Sarkhan, Dragon Ascendant. It is also a desparked Planeswalker. It's a colorless and a red for a 2/2. He's a human druid, legendary creature. I'm sorry. When he enters the battlefield, you may behold a dragon, and if you do, create a treasure token. Behold is a new mechanic. It means that to behold a dragon, choose a dragon you control or reveal a dragon card from your hand. So if you reveal a dragon or you have a dragon on the field, you will create a treasure token. So theoretically, this thing costs 1 mana to cast. Whenever a dragon you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on Sarkhan. Until the end of turn, Sarkhan becomes a dragon in addition to his other types and gains flying. So every time you cast a dragon, he turns into a dragon, he gets boosted up, and he can also attack. So it still retains the Sarkhan of old, the Planeswalker Sarkhan, where you could always pay 0, pay 1, or pay -1 to turn it into a dragon to be able to fight the opponent or whatever. So it retains that idea. I like the idea of having the behold mechanic and also making a treasure, because again, theoretically, this can cost you 1 mana. So I think it's pretty cool. It's a nice temple play too. I feel like this, again, if there's a way to make a strong dragon build, which I'm pretty sure people are going to try, this thing will probably be very important to your dragon build. So pretty cool.
I completely agree. So the next card is Smile at Death. It's 3 and 2 white enchantment that says the following: at the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on each of those creatures. Very high costed enchantment, but
the reference though, it's literally Alicia who smiles at them. So they mentioned that it's literally the same ability. The thing is, it's overcosted. I agree with you. This should not be. Maybe at 4 mana would have been a little more decent. I think 5 mana is just a bit too much. But as opposed to Alicia, you can reanimate 2 creatures. So that's kind of good. And you also put power on them too. So I don't know. I guess maybe 5 mana is acceptable. Maybe they tried 4 mana, but maybe it was too busted. Because imagine you make a white weenie deck. You stick this as your late game drop, and then you can reanimate all the weenies you lost during the whole game, and you also boost their power. Maybe 5 mana is correct. But yeah, I wish it would have been 4 mana.
Being the fact that Bloomborough is part of standard.
Yes.
This card is busted.
Agree. Yes. I don't like the reference, but I mean, I guess this means that Alicia died somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she died. Yeah. And the final one, Rally the Monastery. 3 colorless and a white for an instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if you cast another spell this turn. So you can just play your Mox Jasper. This is 2 mana now. Choose 1. Create 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess, or up to 2 target creatures you control each get +2/+2 until the end of turn, or destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Very versatile, very good. I'm pretty sure it is going to be a staple for a lot of people in this upcoming standard format, because it can destroy the high power dragons. You can make blockers that can boost themselves, or you can go off for a strong attack because you can make 2 creatures, maybe your own dragons, +2/+2. So you have +4 power on the field with this card. Very good, very versatile. That's what you want in these cards now, because everything's power crept. You want cheap instants that have some versatility to them, so you can stick them in your sideboard or in your main deck if you're playing Arena Best of 1. This is the stuff you need. So,
So let's go ahead and look for the Spider-Man preview. Spider-Man. Okay, so for the Spider-Man previews, it was really odd. It was really odd and really random. They did not only spoiled 6 cards, as well. Let me be clear. These 6 cards are of one of those special, full art.
It's a scene. It's a scene one. Like
So
they did with Lord of the Rings, where
Lord
they
of the
did the
Rings,
scene
exactly.
cards, where you could get the cheapest, or the one ring is the one you can get where Gollum is trying to grab it. That's from a scene build. So same
So
thing.
so we're gonna go ahead and see these cards. Let's go ahead and bring them in like that. We can talk about them quickly.
Yep. There you go.
So first one is Venom. Deadly Devourer is 2 green-black legendary creature symbiote villain. He's a 4/4 vigilance menace that has the following ability. For 3 colorless mana, exile target creature from a graveyard, so it's any graveyard.
Yep.
When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on target symbiote, where X is the exile card's toughness. Another thing is target symbiote. So this means that we're going to get
a bunch
of
for sure.
symbiotes.
Obviously.
So
yes. Yeah.
There's Venom. I think he's going to be fun. Probably he might be a good commander if there is a lot of like symbiotes.
He's a weakish commander, but I feel like in a 99 with a better Venom, he'll probably be better.
We have to see what Venom is going to come out in the set.
I do appreciate the fact that he has menace, because he's a menace to society. The puns. I'll tackle Sensational Spider-Man, which I'm guessing we're gonna get the Amazing Spider-Man, all the different like
all the
descriptors of Spider-Man. So we have Sensational Spider-Man. He's colorless and Azorius colors, white and blue, a 3/3 spider human hero. So we got the hero, which I don't know if. I mean, I have a bunch of Marvel characters. I don't know if they have hero on them. I think they do. They might. I don't know. Whenever Sensational Spider-Man attacks, tap target creature defending player controls and put a stun counter on it. Then you may remove up to 3 stun counters from among all permanents. Draw cards equal to the number of stun counters removed this way. I know we were speculating. I don't know if you were in that conversation. That was a while back. We were speculating of what Spider-Man could be, and everyone speculated he was going to be Jeskai colors, and I did too. What I'm guessing here is this is not the strongest Spider-Man we're going to get. I'm guessing we're going to get a Jeskai style Spider-Man, but this feels in tune with what Spider-Man would do. He would put stun counters. So my guess is that other Spider-Mans will do the same, but in a way easier manner than this one does, because he needs to attack to do it. I'm guessing maybe other Spider-Mans, when they come into the battlefield, they put like a bunch of stun counters or whatever, and then this one comes in and he makes you draw a bunch of them on the spot. He's surprisingly weak, but it's fine, because like you said, this is not the main Spider-Man. This is like a flavor, a taste of what Spider-Man could be in Magic. So it's fine.
Yeah, so I imagine that when the set comes in, we're going to have different Spider-Man. So you can do a commander deck of the Spider-Verse. Because in the packaging, we see Spider-Man 99, we see Spider-Gwen,
Miles.
So I think that we're going to have
all of them. And we're not getting a commander product, so they're forcing They're forcing you to buy the standard product or the singles, whatever you want. But there's no, which I guess maybe it's interesting, but I think you're gonna get a welcome decks, which is interesting because we haven't got a welcome decks in a while. So I'm pretty sure these are gonna be very depowered decks, because as I don't know if you guys know, but back in the day, LGSs, if you wanted to learn how to play Magic, they would give you what's called a welcome deck. And in the welcome deck, you'd be able to get I think it's 30 cards of a single color.
It's a total of 40 cards.
Oh, it's 40, yes.
20 card decks.
Yes, exactly. So then you would just be able to have like a little game of Commander and be able to kind of like assess how you play Magic in general, like putting lands, and it kind of goes in like process of how you do these things. And I think the first time you play, you're not supposed to shuffle it, because I think it's designed for you to like play with someone else, and you're supposed to draw the cards one by one in the order that they are. So it gives you like a sense of like what you can do in a game of Command and a game of Standard. I'm sorry. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those decks stack up. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be very weak Spider-Man, but you'll have a free Spider-Man. So
exactly. So just pay attention to your local game store, or if you're from Puerto Rico, hey, Titan Games. Just pay attention to their schedules, like that you can know when you can receive your welcome decks from Spider-Man. Even though Spider-Man is in September.
Yeah.
So next card is Green Goblin Nemesis. Is 2 and Rakdos. So is red, black. Legendary creature. Goblin, human, villain.
Yep.
So it's flying. Is a 3/3. Whenever you discard a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter on target goblin you control. Whenever you discard a land card, create a tap treasure token. That's interesting.
It's in line with Rakdos. Rakdos cares a lot about discarding, so that's interesting. It's also interesting that it boosts your goblins, so there's some goblin synergy there. Interesting. You can make yeah.
Isn't there a goblin? I think that there is. I think that there is a Krenko that, depending on its power, it's how many goblins you do.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's one that you have to tap. I know that all of them tap, but
Yes,
dang, I don't remember what set was it, but I know that there's one that it gains like counters when it attacks and it does damage, and then you can tap it. So yeah,
there you go. There's some synergy there. I'll tackle Duck Ock. So Duck Ock, evil inventor. He's 5 colorless and the mere colors, blue and a black. He's an 8/8. So for 7 mana, you have an 8/8. He's a human scientist villain. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, target non-creature artifact you control becomes an 8/8 robot villain artifact creature in addition to his other types. So he cares about being essentially an artificer. I guess scientists are also artificers. He should have been called an artificer, not a freaking scientist. But I digress. I guess it's cool. Like, you know, if you have literally a artifact next to you, freaking treasure, a treasure, a clue, or whatever you want, like you'll be able to turn into an 8/8. So that's pretty cool.
No, yeah. Now let's go to his card. Like, Grasping Tentacles is 1 engineer.
Yes.
So it's a sorcery. It says target opponent mills 8 cards. You may put an artifact card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So yeah, so whatever you steal from your opponent is going to become an 8/8 robot, and it's going to smack it on the face. So, and
it is great because it says you melee cards. You may put an artifact from that player's graveyard, meaning so it doesn't mean like the ones that he mailed. It's from any card in the graveyard. So if you're already looking at something in the graveyard you want, you mail them for 8 cards, and then you steal the thing that you actually want. And like John said, you can just turn it into an 8 and smack him in the face with it. Or you can just steal a stupid soul ring that he lost because of X or Y reason, you know? So it's pretty good. But that one is actually kind of good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And finally, so you have Pumpkin Bombs, which is the card that Green Goblin would use. It is an artifact. It costs 1 colorless and a red. You tap it. Discard 2 cards. Draw 3 cards. Then put a fuse counter on this artifact. It deals damage equal to the number of fuse counters on it to target opponent. They gain control of this artifact. So this is like the wishbone, the wish claw. Wishclaw, right? It feels like the Wishclaw, but a little bit depowered. Wishclaw, you can get any freaking card from your deck, and then you give it to the opponent and loses one of the wish counters. This one, you discard a bunch, you draw a bunch, you do an impulse draw, a very strong impulse draw. You hit someone for damage, and then they take it. So it works the same way as a Wishclaw. You don't want to trigger it too quickly. You want to wait until it's like vital, or when you're like desperate for a draw, in this case, and then you try to go for the win. You draw 3 cards, you discard 2, give it to someone else, and hopefully you win in that turn, because you do not want to be giving value to your opponent like that.
I completely agree. Yep. I completely agree. Now, Ale, being the fact that we have already covered all of the previews of these upcoming sets, especially Tarkir, that is the most closer. Now, the question is Universe Beyond actually affecting Magic the Gathering lore or I'm not going to say gameplay, because cards are cards, but do you think that it's affecting the lore in regards to all of these sets that we're getting? Like the professor said, I saw one of his most recent videos, and he is like, we had a lot of like hat sets. Yeah. Murders at Karloff Manor, Aether Drift, Thunder Junction. These are not, even though they are lore connected, but these are just random sets.
Silly sets.
Silly sets.
Yep.
And then we have a serious set that is Tarkir Dragonstorm. But do you think that Universe Beyond is going to affect the focus, the main focus that all of us have gotten into Magic? That's sit down and sometimes just listen to the lore and see what happens.
I think Magic the Gathering is losing its identity every single year that passes by. I remember when they did this Walking Dead Secret Lair, and they said, don't worry, guys, it's just going to be Secret Lairs, and we're not going to print mechanically unique cards forever. What we're going to do is we're going to print them, but then we're going to do Magic in Universe ones. And then they dabble with the idea of just making cards that are not Secret Lairs, and you just can buy in a standard modern product, Commander product. So they don't need to make mechanically unique cards because everyone has accessibility to these cards. And now we're doing standard sets, which is like the final threshold that we were missing. It's losing its identity. You have, out of the sets that come out, Aether Drift was like a meme set, so that doesn't count. You got Tarkir Dragonstorm. That's the only one that feels like a serious lore-centric Magic the Gathering set, which is in the Magic the Gathering world. Then you go back to Edges of Eternities, which I saw some of the art. It looks cool. They did say, like Mark Roswater said, that they made a concerted effort to try to bridge the gap. They wanted to do a sci-fi set, but they wanted to make it feel and have the vibe of Magic the Gathering. And they tried to justify, like, how would an angel in Magic's world would look in space? And they try to justify it. They try to work around the aesthetics of Magic to try to give it that feel, so you don't get lost in the sauce. And so it doesn't feel like the Unset that we had like a few years back, which was sci-fi centric. I looked at that art, and sure, there's a couple of cards that you could argue like they feel like Magic centric, but there's a bunch that just feel like memes all over again. Like, it feels like Darth Vader is going to come out of like that spaceship or whatever. So we only have one set that really feels Magic centric, and then we have Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. And those are standard sets, and those are going to take the rest of the year. And those are the ones that people are hyped for, like absolutely hyped. Like, as you know, they were doing pre-orders on Spider-Man. All the product on Amazon got sold out of all the Spider-Man product. You cannot get it anymore. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're going to get it because, again, it's a standard set. People don't seem to realize this because a lot of people are just focused on the IP, but these are sets that are going to be print to demand. They're going to be available for years to come, at least 2 or 3 years easily. So, because now we're going to have 3-year standard sets, and they're by design. So we're going to have ample time to be able to buy whatever you want of Spider-Man. And the problem is, Spider-Man comes out, and trust me, by the time Spider-Man comes out, they're going to announce, I don't know, Avenger Tower standard set. You're going to get all the Avengers in a set, and then you're going to forget about Spider-Man that just came out because you need to be concerned about the other set. And it's always this perpetual hype. And it's always these IPs that don't have anything to do with the lore, and it's kind of breaking the immersion. And we had 3 years of content to prove that I am not the one that cares about lore, but there's something that feels fantasy-based, that it feels very cohesive about the universe that, Mark Rosewater and Richard Garfield created, that feels unique and feels very special. And they did it in a way all this time where they could dabble in literary tropes, horror, eldritch horror. They did eldritch horror like 7 or 8 years ago, and it worked perfectly well. They did tribes, they did dragons. Dragons are from literary stories and whatever. And they were able to use all these references from back then, and they were able to push them and make them cohesive within the world of Magic the Gathering. And I feel like that's lost. Like, they do, like you said, it's all meme sets. It's all a character with a hat. They don't try to engage with the genre and try to make it feel like Magic. They kind of lost their way in that. I don't know if it's because the new people who are on board, they don't know how to like gel together these properties or these genres and kind of mix it together with these characters beyond putting a freaking hat on somebody. But you have that problem going on, and then you have Hasbro trying to push these IPs because they know that people are buying these cards. People bought a bunch of Fallout. People bought a bunch of for Warhammer. They bought a bunch of Lord of the Rings. Wasn't Lord of the Rings the best-selling set ever for Magic the Gathering by a lot?
Yep.
it's like it's hard. It's hard, like from a monetary standpoint, it's hard for them to try to justify trying to, pull back. And I feel like you have people like Mark Rosewater, who's obviously enamored with the lore and the world of Magic, and he really tries. I know he tries so badly to try to preserve whatever's left of Magic and its lore. But every single set and every passing moment, he needs to like fight for the soul of Magic. And ultimately, it seems like a losing battle because money talks. Like, no matter what we say, at the end of the day, we're gonna end up buying Spider-Man. We're hyped about Final Fantasy because we both love Final Fantasy because we grew up playing those games. So we are the ones who are gonna play it, but it's because we enjoy the mechanics of Magic. Because Magic, I don't care any of you Pokemon players or Yu-Gi-Oh! I was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player too. Magic, it is the best card game ever made. It is the best one. It has the best mechanics. It can work with cards from 30 years ago, and you can put a card today, and they will both function perfectly well together, and they will gel together perfectly well. It's a perfect game. It's a perfect card game. You will never be able to beat it. I mean, it's also the oldest too. And we are enamored with the mechanics and the gameplay, and that's why we come back, and that's why we buy all these products. But at what point is it too much? Like what point does it lose its identity? And I feel like it's losing it very quickly. I was not expecting 3 standard sets of Universes Beyond to come out in a single year. Like when we were like 2 years ago just talking about, we're just going to dabble in like a modern set every so often. And I thought when they did the Assassin's Creed set and it flopped, I was like, okay, good. Like they learned the lesson. They can't just be printing IPs into modern. It's not going to work all the time. Let's just keep it to Commander. Commander is the casual format. It's fine, whatever. And I know, this is the last point, I know that we always like push the goalpost. I remember that probably when we can look at this whenever we can. When we talked about Walking Dead, we were probably talking about the fact like, okay, this shouldn't go beyond this. Like, I remember distinctly when Ikoria came out that I said I loved when Ikoria did the IP thing because it was still in universe cards. They just had a reskin. To this day, I still stand that was the best approach. That was the way where you can preserve Magic and its lore and its cards, but you can have a reskin of a freaking card, and you can have Woody or freaking Buzz Lightyear as a whatever, and it'd be fine because it's still inherently a Magic card. It just has a reskin on it. That I think was always the best approach, and I think that was the best idea when they started printing magically unique, like unique cards with their own mechanics and their own whatever and their whole whatever. It ruined it. And now you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's difficult.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with our viewers. I was going to be devil's advocate. I was going to be like, yep, I am not agreeing with you, but I can't.
It's too difficult.
It's too difficult. I can't.
There is a benefit. The only benefit that I can see is that there's an influx of players, and we have seen this. So we have a TikTok page. You can follow us on TikTok, Cardboardcave Podcast on TikTok. We have a bunch of followers and a bunch of commenters. So when we posted, that's the thing that I noticed. When we posted the Last Airbender tease, the comments were fascinating to watch because that's when I realized we were living in a little bit of a bubble because we're like old boomers. We're old Magic boomers. But a lot of people got into Magic because of these IPs. It was either Doctor Who or Warhammer or whatever, Assassin's Creed. They got into that and then they stayed because, again, Magic has the best mechanics all time. Like, you can't beat that. So people go for the IP, but they stay because Magic is so good to play with it. You can play with friends, you can play casual, you can play competitive, whatever. So seeing that a lot of people were frustrated because it's losing its identity, but then you see a lot of people saying, oh, shut up. Like, the whole reason why I'm here is because of this. Like, you won't have the player base that you have right now because of these IPs, and people are excited, so let them be excited. So, I'm at a crossroads. Like, I want Magic to preserve its identity. I don't want it to lose. I don't want it to become like Fortnite, the card game. But at the same time, I understand that the player base has grown incrementally much more than it could have had if it had just stuck to like normal Magic sets. So it's difficult. to kind of juggle what's the future of this or what's going to become. Obviously, they're going to be keep doing more IP crossovers. It's undeniable at this point. But when is it too much? When are you going to cross the line too much? I don't know.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I wanted to be devil's advocate and say like no, but no, it's really difficult. Because again, the fact that a lot of people are getting into Magic, and not only getting into Magic, one of the things that you see, especially like in Pokemon, a lot of people collect master sets. So what is a master set is that you as a collector, you have a binder and you fill it and you complete a whole Pokemon set with all of the cards, with all of the art rares, with all of the commons, uncommons, and whatnot. And you have, like, let's say a binder with the complete set of base set Pokemon, base set 2 and whatever, etc. And with these Universe Beyond sets, people are actually doing these complete sets. They're not doing it with Cons of Tarkir or obviously there's always an exception. I'm not going to say that they're not doing it, but you don't see it frequent. You don't see content creators saying, oh, I'm going to be going to this convention and my challenge is to complete the whole Cons of Tarkir set to make a master set binder.
Yep.
One is going to be pretty hard and difficult. Two,
yeah, it's a lot of cards.
The prices for some of these cards from Magic, especially if you're like looking for inventions, expeditions, are too ridiculous. If you think Pokemon is expensive, Magic is a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And with these Universe Beyond sets, people are like, I am a big fan of Lord of the Rings, and I want to complete a binder with all of the cards. I want all of the artworks. I want, obviously, the only card they can have is the One Ring, because Post Malone has it.
Yeah.
But
you can have the other One Rings.
You can have the other One Rings. Yeah. But again, the fact that people are completing master sets, the fact that people are coming into the game just because their favorite IP is a whole set. I have to give it to Wizard of the Coast, but when it's too much, I love Magic the Gathering lore, and I think that I've been one of the team members that always says have said the same thing since the first Secret Lair of Walking Dead. One of the things that I love is the lore and the fact that when War of the Sparks had this epic, they tried to make this epic ending, and they made 2 novels of the story, and both books were bad.
Yeah.
Because they didn't give love to it, because they were in their mindset. I think that they were just like, hey, let's just focus on the future. We have all these IPs, because I know that they're going to go ahead. One day we're going to have a Power Rangers set. One day we're going to have a Toy Story Secret Lair. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult because that is Disney, but still, the sky's the limit. And Wizard of the Coast has Hasbro. Hasbro is a very big company that I imagine that with a blank paycheck, they can do whatever they want.
Yep.
And they're going to make their money. So it's really saddened that the last 3 sets of this year are Universe Beyond sets.
And a Secret Lair of SpongeBob. Don't forget.
Oh, shit. I totally forgot.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny. It's not funny. Yeah. It's sad, but
it's sad. Yeah. I don't mind, for instance, when the Hatsune Miku one was announced, I was like, that's cool. The reason why I said it's cool is because if Hatsune Miku is one, that means that one day, even though it's not going to happen because they're going to have their own TCG, but hey, we could have had a Gundam Wing Secret Lair, or
we had Transformers.
We had Transformers.
Yeah,
Transformers. Yeah. But the fact that the possibilities are endless.
But you know why Hatsune Miku was great? And I don't care about Hatsune Miku, but you know why it was good? Because all those cards were reskins of actual Magic cards.
Actual cards, yeah.
That's why I don't mind. When you give me a Snapcaster Mage just calls Hatsune Miku Star is Born or wherever, and underneath it says Snapcaster Mage, I'm like, That's right. It's a reskin. That's cool with me. It's still an actual magic card, not a mechanically unique Hatsune Miku that, I don't know, every time she sings, she kills 3 weebs. Like I don't need that, bro. Like I need reskins. But they're obviously not doing this. They're I don't know if it's like a deal thing, or I don't know if they like pay more money to be mechanically unique cards, but it's frustrating because like I said, it loses its identity. Now we're gonna have a like it's crazy. You're gonna have a standard where someone's casting an Ang and some other person is gonna counter with a Spider-Man. You're gonna hear that in a Pro Tour. Tour. They're gonna be playing against the Skirmish, Siege, Rhino, whatever, and then Spider-Man attacks them or some stupid shit. I don't know. It's crazy. I can't even like imagine the announcers freaking talking like that.
Yeah, you imagine that they reprint Fling and then they're like, oh, so the opponent is about to lose, but then like you're about to lose, and the announcers is, what is he going to do? He has anger in the graveyard, so he can have anything hasty. He plays the cactus from Final Fantasy.
He's gonna attack with the cactus. Oh my god, Final Fantasy for the win. He's gonna fling him. Oh my god. Exactly. Wild. It's wild, man.
It's wild. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to be devil's advocate, but it's too hard. It's too difficult for it. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm really excited for Final Fantasy. I think that's the only set that I'm excited for because, like Ale mentioned, I grew up with Final Fantasy. We both played most of the games. I didn't play the most like recent ones. I think I stayed until Lightning.
I played the online one, so I win. I played 11.
So you played the online one. I didn't. I didn't had the expansion for the PlayStation.
Yeah, it was expensive, but it was totally.
It was.
I sleepless nights during my high school years. A lot of sleepless nights.
For me, it was Ragnarok Online.
Oh yeah, I also played that one for a bit.
I loved Ragnarok Online. They should make a set of Ragnarok Online. That should be cool.
That'd be cool.
That should be cool. But at the end of the day, guys, it depends on what your likings is. If you're like us, that we really, even though we're not people that sit down and read the lore, but that we are interested on like what the card represents in the story. But we're losing it little by little with these Universe Beyond sets, and hey, it is what it is. We thought that due to Assassin's Creed's flop, they were going to tone it down, but they didn't. So let's see what happens moving forward in these upcoming sets, even though we know that money-wise they are making their money. But let's see what happens next year, 2026. So, Ale, tell me, where can the people find you?
You can find me here talking about delicious, yummy, IP-driven cardboard. We should make shirts. Yummy cardboard. I should make shirts of this. You can also find me at Cinemas Podcast. I talk about movies. I do podcasts talking about movies. Last episode was of my Oscar prediction, which I got a few cool ones. I'm dabbling on what my next new episode is going to be. I'm going to see Mickey 17 tomorrow, so maybe an episode on that. I don't know. So, yeah. What about you, John?
Well, you guys can find me here in the Cardboardcave podcast. Me and Ale are always available for any of you in the social medias, but as well, you can find me in Reel In Films. Like Ale, I do movie reviews and I do a lot of interviews with, let it be actors, directors, or stars from the film. So if you guys want to dabble in that area, go ahead and pass by and say hello. So nothing, guys. I do hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of the Cardboardcave podcast. And nothing, we will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Rope until I cut it, bala pa tu cabeza, para delicadeza, habla la realeza, salva naturaleza, method for your mentalities, kill them with no fatalities, happy with all the cannabis, welcome to your reality.